welcome back to my channel. My name is Noreen and I'm coming to you from County Waterford in Ireland. I had a bit of time on my hands this week, so I decided to get on with a few spring cleaning jobs, and one of the things that I have is a box that I throw scraps of material into when I do crafts. And this week I decided to take them out, take off the jagged edges, etc., give them a nice iron, and I put them all in piles here, and I have other piles that I've done for fall and Christmas, etc. But as I was doing this, I was looking at all my beautiful bright colours, and it got me really into the spring mood, and considering Easter is only around the corner, I thought, why not today let's make some Easter bunting. So I have one here behind me, and in this one I have done 12 triangles. In the one we're going to do today, I'm going to do 8 triangles. You can do it longer, you can do it smaller, whatever suits where you're placing it. On each of the little triangles I have a little applique. I have done rabbits, chicks, eggs and carrots, and I'll be showing you how to do those in a little bit. So, as you know, we'll put on the kettle, have a cup of tea, and let's go and do some crafts. Okay, so for my chicks I have picked this material, and all I have literally done is got a piece of greaseproof paper and traced out the chicks, the rabbits, the carrots and the eggs, and then I have pinned the greaseproof paper onto my material, and I will be cutting that shape out in a few minutes. Don't forget your chicks will have little wings. So I used this material here, and what I liked was I felt this little effect gave like little feathers. So I've cut 2 pieces out ready, so they will be going on here as their wings. I've got a bit backwards. They'll be going on there and their wings later. Okay, so that's my chicks, we'll leave that there. The next thing I looked at were the eggs, and I picked this material. And this is the same as the one I have that I made earlier. And what I like about this material, it's quite busy, but what I like about it is what we call fussy cut. So again, I've got my greaseproof paper in the shape of an egg, and I decided what part I wanted to pick. That bit, or that bit down there. And I cut it out. And here I have my 2 eggs ready. So that's my eggs. So for my rabbit, I have picked this material, and again, same principle. I've traced the rabbit, and don't forget he has his little tail and he has his little ears, and for his ears I'm just going to cut out the 4 little pieces for there, and I will stitch them on. And for his tail you could put another piece of material there and stitch it on, or I have little pom-poms and I think I'm just going to stick that on as a little fluffy tail effect. And last but not least are my carrots. And I think we can't go wrong with orange for the carrots. And I have a little bit of green, again traced out a carrot base, and I have a little bit of green here, and I'm going to cut out a shape of a carrot top and put that on. So I'll go ahead and cut them out, and we'll have those ready, and then I will talk to you about doing the actual triangles themselves. My triangle, I'm going to use this lovely bright sunny yellow material, and what I've done is I've made myself a template out of just a piece of card. It's an ordinary piece of card, and I measured it 5.5 inches across. I then got the center point, which is 2 3/4 inches. So from there is 2 3/4, from there to there is 2 3/4. And from that point I measured straight down with a ruler 7 inches. When I had that done, I drew a line from this point to here, and I drew a line from this point to here, and then I cut it out, and this gave me this triangle shape. And all I have to do is put it on my material and draw out my outline like that, and then we will cut it out. And don't forget, for every 1 piece of bunting you need 2 pieces of material, so you need a total of 16 triangles. So we've done our triangles and we've put our little bit of applique on top of them. Now I like to sew a little edge around here, and it just stops this from fraying. But if you don't want to get into the sewing, I've just made a little idea here of another one. I'm just kind of using this here. And all I've done is literally used Mod Podge on that, stuck it on, and then I'm going to get my markers and I'm just going to colour in his ears. You could use a stronger colour if you want. His little eye. Just tiny little bit tip on his nose here. Okay, so the next thing is his tail. Now I have pom-poms, and these are the pom-poms I have, and they have a little bit of sparkly bit there. So what I did was I just got a little scissors and I just clipped around and just went all the way around it and took off all the sparkly bit, and I'm left with this. And what I recommend is if you're trying to put a pom-pom on a flat surface, just go to the back of it and just give a little snip so you're getting a little flat base. A little bit of glue, I'm just using my glue gun here, and pom-poms on. Now the other thing I would recommend is if you're not getting into sewing at this stage, or you only want to use one, we're going to use two. We're going to put it back onto this in a minute when I get my machine out. We're going to have to stitch the applique, get my machine out and put the back on. But another thing you can do is you can use a pinking shear. So just go along the edges. And you don't need to do this side because this will be going under the ribbon part, and this side. Yeah, I just went a little bit crooked there. Now, so you could do that. I'm going to put the ribbon on, and this is a no-sew version. So it's just a single layer glued to the applique on. Or you can do another way where you don't have to do any applique. And I'm just taking a couple of pieces of material here. So you could do 3 different materials that would complement each other. And 3 different buntings. They're the same pattern that I've been using the whole time, just the same template, and you could cut them out and put them in ribbons, so you don't have to put anything on them, and the choice is endless. Like, look at that colour with a little bit of yellow and the blue. Lovely, very spring. And what I would say to you is you don't have to have stashes of material. Use old bedding, old pyjamas, old dresses. If you're clearing out and doing a spring clean, any cotton material you may have, cut out pieces, keep them. You will use them for things like this. Okay, so now that we have put the applique onto our front part of our triangle, I want to do a stitch around the edging to just give it a border and also to stop the edges fraying. So I have this one already started, and you can see the difference between the two. Now, any thread will do. I'm just using what I have in my box, and what I had was some embroidery threads. If you're using an embroidery thread, what I would recommend, I'm just going to take the white one here, and I'm just going to cut a little piece off to show you. The embroidery thread comes with 6 strands. We don't need 6 when you're doing this. So just split them and take 2 together and just pull them apart and use 2. So I will then have 2 more and 2 more to use after that. So now what I want to do is I want to show you how I did this blanket stitch. I have my needle in my hand, have my material, And I'm going to bring the needle up behind, right at the edge of the applique. Bring it straight up. And I'm right-handed, so I'm going to work towards my right, and I'm keeping my thread to my right. Hold in place and then just come down a small little bit here. I'll just show you now, and bring it right to the edge. So like that. Make sure this thread is underneath the needle. Keep bringing out. Pull gently. And slightly give a tug, and you'll get a stitch go straight across. Keep my thread to my right. Try and keep these fairly even, so I'm in about there, up at the edge. My thread is behind the needle. Push my needle through, and another stitch. And I work my way all the way around the carrot. Okay, so we have stitched along one side of our triangle, and we've stitched along the other side of our triangle, and we have left the top open so that we can turn it in the right way. In the video you saw me snip off the excess material near the point. Make sure you don't cut into your stitching, and that's so that when you turn it in the right way you've less bulk of material here to give you a nice point. So now we'll just turn it in the right side. Okay, and to give ourselves a nice point, people use scissors, they use chopsticks, they use a knitting needle. I use this, and I just push through my material. Keep playing with it until you get a nice point. Just make sure you don't poke through. I'm happy with that. Okay. And then give it a nice press. Get your sides. And if you have little excess material at the top, just snip it off. Okay. Put your bunting in order that you don't have two the same beside each other. So I have my chick, carrot, rabbit, egg, chick, carrot, rabbit, egg. And they're all ready, so I can attach the ribbon to them. We're ready now to do our ribbon part. And when you have material, you will find that if you go across this way, you'll listen to it. There's no leeway in your material. So when you're trying to do your ribbon, there's no leeway to make the ribbon that way. If you go this way, you'll hear a shallower sound. And that means there's a stretch in the material. And that way, you've got more room to maneuver the ribbon when you put it around your bunting. So we want to make some bias. And the principle will be this. I've just got a piece of material here to give you an idea what I'm doing. I will be cutting my strips in 2.5 inch width. And what we will do is we will put our material across in half to give us the halfway mark. And then we will bring one side into the halfway mark and the other side into the halfway mark, and we will press them. And then when we close it over, we will have our ribbon. And if I get a piece of our bunting here, the ribbon will go in there like that. Now each piece of bunting is 5 inches. I put an inch between that piece and the next piece, like that. So what I've done is I've calculated, I have 8 of these, 5 8s 40. I will be putting an inch between the 8, but remember I'll have the end and the end, so I will actually need 7 inches. So that gives me 47 inches that I will need in length. And then you can decide whether you want a big tie at the end of it or just a little piece that you're going to thumbtack in. It's up to you. I'm going to probably do about 3 inches extra either side. So I'm doing about a 53 inch length. Okay, so we'll now do our binding. The easiest way to do your binding is lay your material out. I have the salvage edge here, and I'm going to bring that very neatly across. Let's get it all nice and straight. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it on itself. Okay. Make sure that's all level. And I'm going to do it again. Now, I want to cut these raw edges off, or sorry, the folded edges off. So I'm just going to get my ruler. That's not level there, so just bring it up a bit. My rotary cutter. And I've cut those off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in 2.5 inches on my ruler. If I turn my ruler that way, it'll make it easier for myself. So there's my 2.5 mark. 2. Now I might need more, so I'm not going to disturb that because I might need to cut more off. And what I do is I get my parts here and I can match them up. So I might need a longer piece. So to join them, if I turn it this way, I have the bottom piece facing up. I will have the top piece facing down, so it's right sides together. I will put them across so that I have about a 1/4 inch here and about a 1/4 inch here. And I will stitch along here. And when I finish folding, if I can get something to hold it there now, when I stitch along here, I don't know if that'll hold it, when I put my material back, you will get a nice joined seam. So we'll head to the machine and we'll get that stitched up together. Okay, so I've stitched those 2 pieces together and now I'm just going to press them open. I'm going to turn it that way and you can see now we have a nice long ribbon. Just cut those little dog ears off. And we have one long piece. At the very end, because we originally cut the bias at an angle, I have an angle, so I want to cut that piece off. Just cut it straight. So I'm going to do my ribbon straight on my ruler. And just cut. What I want to do is I will turn just the end in so that I have a nice neat ending. So when we're eventually finished, this will be nice and closed. We won't have a raw edge. So I'm just going to just turn a little piece down there and press it. Now throughout the whole ribbon, I'm going to half it. I'm going to do this all the way down. Okay, I'll continue all the way through the ribbon. When I've done that, I'm going to take this half to my halfway line, like that, and I'm going to press it in. Again, I'll do all that way down, and on this side, I'm going to take to the halfway line, and I'm going to press it down. So my end piece will look like that. So I will get on with that and then we can get on to the assembly.